But then if you get it right, you don't need to keep, and that comes back to sustainability.
So it's the first roundtable discussion that I've been part of, and it was really fantastic to have some very meaty topics being discussed by the industry. And I think one of the things that we tend to forget about is the fact that we all share the same vision, we all come from the same place. So actually we need to unite and have one voice, I think. That's my takeout from today, is that there's more that joins us than divides us. Together, we need to work together to have one voice. And that, for me, was really great today, because it's rare that all of us would ever come together, because we wouldn't. So to actually have a forum where you can talk about pretty big issues like what's natural and what's really important, and is sustainable more important than being organic, and why are we doing all of this, and then putting it into context to what the conventional brands are doing, and also understanding that retailers need, something different to what the manufacturer brands need. So having the roundtable, so the first roundtable, but having that opportunity, I think, is a really good starting point. My question is, where do we take it now? We need to have one industry voice, and we need to work together. The natural beauty industry isn't unified. I think the place we need to start is to have one certification body, if I'm honest, because I think at least then we'd have a common point where we could come together. But when we haven't even got a standard that says, when we talk about organic, this is what we really mean, we've got a long way to go. And I think that's where I would start, is to say we as manufacturer brands have to share one certification body and talk in the same language. A lot of the discussion today centred around what's the next big trend. So we're talking about Southeast Asian markets and beauty creams and different sorts of face masks and so on. And that, to me, when I work for a company that innovates rarely, and when we innovate, it could take us 10 years to have a product that we know works. So actually working to trends isn't something that we work to at all. So it was fascinating for me that sort of listening to the conversation around the table, and I'm thinking, I don't really think in this way, and maybe we should. But actually, it's just all about what the consumer wants and needs. For a retailer, you're always looking for something new, because you want people to come in. But every single thing that's new costs an awful lot of money, and everybody's looking for the next big thing. So a really well-established brand will only grow their business in the main through adding newness and innovation. So a lot of the really mature brands will spend all of their time, effort and energy, so with all the big marketing campaigns, talking about the new. Whereas I think if you're truly sustainable, if you're spending all of that money trying to find the next big thing, why aren't you actually just looking at what you made last year, or even 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and getting it right first time? Because that has to be the sustainable way of doing things. So I think it's difficult, because I think to be truly sustainable, you need to do it once and get it right, and understand that it might take you 10 years. But what retailers need, that's from a brand point of view, but what retailers want is something new and exciting every day that makes you want to go in, and either into the shop or online or whatever. So you have this kind of imbalance. And I think that the critical thing, and we started to talk about it today, the critical thing is to understand that you can have a product. So take Weleda Skin Food, it's been around for 90 years, and it does anything and everything. And you make that product relevant by saying, it's great for tattoos. It's great for... So what it might have been used for 90 years ago, maybe is a cold cream. Women don't use cold cream these days, but we all need a great everyday moisturiser. So I think our challenge is maybe to realise that new is maybe something old, but you have to present it in a new way. It was really interesting talking about or listening to the number of times organic and natural were mentioned. Because organic and natural is just about the purity of an ingredient. It's nothing to do with the whole process of the business. You can have something that's natural and organic and completely unsustainable. So I think we need to broaden the debate, because it's not black and white. It's not black all white, is it organic or is it not organic? Is it 98%? Oh, what's the other 2%? I think that isn't what we should be talking about. I think we should be talking about having the purest of ingredients grown in the most, or maybe not the purest, the most effective ingredients grown in the most sustainable way that is in harmony with everything else that you do. So I see a lot of brands with their CSR, corporate social responsibility departments sitting within marketing, and they make a big thing about using green energy. It's a great thing, wonderful, but what else? Because CSR shouldn't sit in marketing, it should sit with the CEO, it should sit in the very heart of the organisation. So if you take Weleda, and Weleda's been around for 95 years, we have 7 core values, and every single one of those core values has sustainability in it. So every single thing we do, we know that we have an impact on. So going back to the discussion, I think the discussion needs to elevate itself away from natural versus organic and actually into something more like how sustainable is what we're doing. So you might want a product to be 100% organic, but then if it's something like organic almond oil, is there enough resource of organic almond oil in the world? And what does that mean if the answer's no? So I think it's just really complicated, and we tried to make it very simple, very black and white, and it isn't. So Weleda is a global brand, and in the UK we're a multi-channel brand, which can be quite a difficult place. But if you firmly believe that it's down to the individual to have choice, so our consumer chooses where she wants to buy the product, and it's ultimately her decision, it's not our decision. So is she, some of us like to shop with big internet retailers. Some of us like to go into a local farm shop. Some of us like to go to a health food store. Some of us like to buy from friends. Some of us like the anonymity of going into a big supermarket. But that's not a brand's decision. That's the consumer's decision. So I'm a great believer in you can be a multi-channel brand. So if you take Weleda, over the last 5 years, we've gone from being very much a health food store brand, and as the health food store trend, if you like, went very mainstream. Even Tesco's had their own sort of green section, and just look at organic food. Largest organic food retailer is now a big supermarket, which is Waitrose. So you have to adapt with it. During that time, we've gone from, as I say, being a health food store brand into supplying into some mass market distribution. So some of the big supermarkets I've just mentioned. We've now got a large business on the internet, and guess what? We've now got 300 Weleda advisors selling on a one-to-one basis, and I don't see any of those channels in conflict, because I actually think that the consumer decides where she wants to shop and where she wants to buy the products from, and that's not our choice. Our choice, what we need to do is make sure we get the products in the right place for her at the right price. As a brand, you'll succeed or fail based on how attractive you are to the consumer. So are you in the right place? If you're not in the right place. So we could be very high and mighty and say, we don't want to deal with a particular retailer, or we don't particularly like an online e-tailer's philosophy. But that's not our choice. And at the end of the day, in terms of the Competition Commission, you can't control your brand. All you can do is control what you can control. So in other words, what we put in to our products and how we work and so on, it's entirely up to the consumer as to certainly in our free economy in the UK, it's entirely up to the consumer where they want to shop. And if somebody wants to shop, be it Tesco's or Waitrose or Sainsbury's, they've made those personal choices, and it's not up to us to say, well, we think there's a better brand fit. In fact, yesterday somebody came up to me and said, oh, so-and-so's thinking about stocking the brand. And the answer to that is great, fantastic. Not, I don't know. Because that says the consumers that are going into that particular retail space are asking for Weleda. And it's down to the consumer. And if a retailer does something wrong, and we can all think about some retailers that have made some pretty poor decisions over the last couple of years, then their footfall will drop. because the consumer's really smart. The more mainstream you can make sustainability, organic, natural, and be it the like of a large beauty house, a very conventional beauty house, buying a green brand, some good will come out of it. And the more mainstream we can go, the more sustainable the world will become, because you're changing behaviour. So this whole idea about something's good and something's bad is just, for me, that's just nice media sound bites, because actually real life is just very complicated, and it's 50 shades of green. The whole thing about natural and organic cosmetics is it has to move from niche into mainstream. But you can only do that if you are solving a problem, because the majority of, well, particularly the UK population, that's not necessarily true across the whole of Europe. For the UK population, being natural and organic is nice to have, and it's usually an expensive nice to have, and it's not, in terms of our hierarchy of needs, it's not number one or number two. Whereas if you're in Germany, it probably is. It's in your top three, but in the UK it isn't. The most important thing is they want to buy a product that works and does them good. And that's where we need to really concentrate on where the efficacy of natural and organic cosmetics does the best good. So for Weleda, it's really obvious. If you look at the sales of organic baby food, which is, say, 60% of the whole baby food market, that tells you straight away that parents want the best for their child. They want it as pure as possible. It's exactly the same for skincare. So whereas it might only be 5% of the general cosmetics beauty market, actually in the world of baby skincare it's probably more like 70%. And that's where we'll start to make a big difference, I think. So ultimately it's not about being green or organic or natural, it's about having a product that actually works first and foremost, and then there are other things that come after that. When we talk about the natural beauty market, and it's 5% of the conventional market, we need to think that 5% is only 5%, and that we need to be looking at the other 95%. So in terms of, as an industry, we need to work together to convince more consumers to move to natural beauty.